in my mind, folks, this is not an easy decision, so.
Your attorney had her
Yes,
hand
ma'am.
up.
You want?
What's that?
I said I'll go if you want.
Okay, fire away.
Oh, boy. All right. So, as I said earlier, actually, I'm going to start off with I admire your villages very, very, very much. I have friends there. I'm there on a
Way back here.
somewhat regular basis. As I said earlier, I would actually like to live there. I have an acre out in Citrus Hills, and it's a lot to keep up with. I really admire your villages very, very much. I have to say that I would also say where I am in Citrus Hills, Forest Ridge is right across from Terra Vista, which is pretty much one of the fanciest pants community that this county has, and it fits in absolutely fine. I would welcome another Forest Ridge around Citrus Hills, and I would have absolutely no problem living next to this community as developed, living in Medowcrest. I know I've just disappointed all of you, but I want you to know, just as Chairman Kitchen just said, this is an incredibly difficult position for us to be in. It is incredibly hard to take a stance against citizens, and if I thought for a moment that this was going to be more of a negative impact on your community than commercial, then I would be a lot more amenable to your arguments on that. But the traffic and everything else will be so much higher with commercial there. The other thing I take into account is Stan Olson is was, and we miss him very much in this community, he was a prescient visionary, and he did envision having high-density apartments in the Medowcrest community. So people saying that that's not what you bought into, you didn't go far enough back in what the origination of this community was. Lastly, I know all of us get tired probably of hearing each other's personal stories, but I was holding my mother's hand when she died. I moved back here because she had dementia. And for 4 years, I navigated her through downsizing her life. And I saw firsthand, and I got to tell you, that was a come to Jesus moment in her 40s. I saw firsthand, and I see a lot of gray hair in the audience. I love you guys. I particularly love the 99-year-olds that came out here. You may not believe me, but I am looking out for you. I really am. Now, bear with me. I want you to listen.
Please.
I have respectfully listened to all of you. I've respectfully read your emails. I want you to respectfully just take a moment to open your mind and think about this, okay? The PDC, with all due respect to them, they are a volunteer board. They do not spend the unbelievable hours that professional paid commissioners do studying what is best for the county, We have to balance that with whatever the local impact is. And I just said, if I thought this was going to be poor outcome for y'all, I would not back it. So listen to me when I say workforce housing equals economic development. The ability to have that equals keeping your taxes in check. Okay? That's number one. Number two, workforce housing means a sufficient level of medical staff in this county. So you have EMS show up when you have a heart attack. You have nurses to hold your hand in the hospital. And the very lowest economic class that they're talking about, like CNAs, think of how awesome it's going to be to have a CNA living in your neighborhood who can come over and do home care so you don't have to go to assisted living. I had to work full time, so my mom had to go to assisted living. Okay, so you can age in place. So I may be wrong. I own it. I may be wrong. But that is what my experience as a year and a half as a commissioner and going to a lot of conferences and sitting through a lot of educational things says is the right thing to do for not just the county, but for y'all. I can't let a meeting go without trotting out a y'all. And I'm done.
Okay, well, I'm going to jump back into it, so we'll have a different perspective. And then we'll let my three colleagues up here see where they want to come down on this. I have to say the reason this is a difficult discussion is because we get full of demagoguery. We start talking about, we emotionalize everything, okay? And that's not what we're being asked to do today. We're being asked to make business decisions based on law. That's what the PDC did. Also keep this in mind. Don't pay attention to the PDC because they're just a volunteer board and we know better. But pay attention to the library board because they're a volunteer board and we don't want to go, So what we come down to is if the volunteer board we agree with, they're okay. And if we disagree with them, they're not. All I'm saying is every volunteer board we have, we appreciate. I listen to what they have to say. I read why they say. And in the past, I've asked for the reasoning of the PDC's votes, not just who voted for and who voted against. So I just think that is just, we got to be consistent in our reasoning. Either you fully support the boards, the volunteer boards, because they're the experts and they give you the advice, as was the case with the library board, or you don't pay attention to them, as we're hearing with the PDC. So with that said, let's go back to, I have the floor. So here's where we're going with this. 1987, I just moved here in 1987, right? And I've lived in the community a long time. Here's what we get into. The gentleman that got up and said, this isn't about affordable housing, it's not. I would agree with those statements from the PDC. The PDC is tasked with looking at the law. When we look at land use changes, we are not allowed and we are not supposed to take into effect economic development and job creation. That's not a category that we look at, and I'll tell you why. This is a tough decision because what they want to do is a great product. What they want to do is a great idea, and what they want to do is needed for Citrus County. What makes it difficult is, in my mind, is this is not compatible with what's there, and I'll tell you why. And I've had people in Sugar Mill Woods call me up and say, I don't want to complain. I moved in here, it was nice and quiet, and now they're digging this big DRA behind my house. And I said, did you look at the master plan? Well, no. And on the master plan, there's a DRA there. It was just never built. So they didn't do their due diligence to see what was there. When you bought into where you live, your DRI and your PUD said, this is what's going to happen. And my analogy to that is people move beside an airport. And if you move in beside an airport and you complain about the noise from the airplanes, and that airport was always there or always planned, you knew that. But if you move into a quiet neighborhood and the commission comes along and goes, we need airports. Okay, we're sorry what we told you in the past, but we need airports. So therefore, we're going to put an airport in. So that goes against your property rights. And that's why this is a difficult decision. So all I've done is I've gone through here, this thing about renters versus owners. If you own your home, are you allowed to rent it? Okay, so that's not an issue. Workforce housing, okay? Some of the people got up here, the very people that we're supposed to be putting workforce housing in for, which I disagree with. I don't think it's the government's job to buy down the market for people to buy into homes. Most people I know got into their homes by saving. Many people saved many, many years to get into a home. They didn't expect the government to step forward and say, here's affordable housing. But the other thing that comes into play is some of the very people that were supposed to live in Medowcrest. So on one hand, I've heard people say, I'm a teacher, I'm this, whatever, I live in Medowcrest, but now I want you to go against what I've been told my whole time. And here's the biggest thing that I've learned as a commissioner. I've been up here for 8 years, and before that, I was the mayor of Crystal River for 10 years. So I've been through this a lot. And here's what you come down to is trust in government. People show up at these kind of meetings, we go through these public hearings, and they're told, okay, this is a PUD. Here's a site plan. This is all that can be done on that. Well, we don't have a site plan. That isn't part of what the application is. This is a zoning use change, okay? So, and the speaker in my mind that said, once this is passed, it can be used for anything. And that's why I don't like, how many times have we been through this? I will never upzone a piece of property without a site plan as part of the application. Because what was said earlier is true. It's being sold as this, it's a great idea, but if it doesn't work out, it can be used for anything that property is zoned for. And without a site plan contingent on that, which is what your DRI was, okay? And one applicant is correct. We modify site plans, but we don't come in and say, this is going into this area because it fits the market better and it goes against the community. And my final comment was, they wanted to put a hotel in, beautiful hotel, created many jobs, would have paid a lot of taxes, and they wanted to put it in the middle of the most environmentally sensitive, pristine area in Old Homosassa. And we said, sorry, great project, breaks our heart to vote against it, but I can't vote for it because it comes back to this key word. I find it incompatible. So when I read through this, and I read through all of this over and over and over again, the Planning and Development Commission finds application so-and-so inconsistent with the Citrus County Comprehensive Plan and Citrus County Land Development Code and recommends denial. And the number one thing that county commissioners are supposed to do is uphold the comprehensive plan. So that's why I make my decisions not based on emotion, but consistent, comprehensive, and competent data that's presented to us. And so I listened to the applicant, and it was a great presentation. It's a great project. In my personal opinion, it's not compatible with the area. The other thing that I would say is that this is about philosophy. This is all about philosophy. What should the government do? What should the government not do? I will never sit up here and say it's my job to take care of you. Never will I say that. I'll say it's my job to listen to you. That's what you pay me for. And so again, I don't set myself up as big brother to take care of you and watch out for you and get you to trust me. If you voted for me, that's what you did because I told you I'd listen to you. I hope the applicant comes up. If this is denied, and if it goes forward, then I said my piece and I'm going to vote my way. But if it doesn't go forward, I hope the applicant tries again in a different location that perhaps future boards may find more compatible or consistent. So I think I touched on most of this. I just want to make sure I didn't miss this thing. But I think that was most of it. Yes,
Mr.
Commissioner
Chair,
Slabaugh.
I just wanted one point of clarification, if I may. Very short, very, very short.
Oh, you
There's
went
even a
first?
compliment. There's even a
Well,
compliment
I
in
don't
there
worry
for
about it.
you.
Let everybody speak. Then we'll come back to you. And I don't care about compliments. As you know, I'm a grumpy old man, and I don't care if people like me or not. Okay, Commissioner Slabaugh.
Okay, been a long day, and I'm just going to say a few things. Like Commissioner Davis said, they've heard our story, but you have not. I'm a native Floridian, born and raised in Sarasota. I've seen what's happened to Sarasota. We moved up here in 1995. I have spent 16 years going to Medowcrest 4 times a day, 4 days a week. I know your neighborhood. My twin daughters took ballet at Miss Ronnie's. I know those streets, and I hate those stop signs, and I'm telling you, I've been in your neighborhood. I cut through your neighborhood to this day. And when the Parkway was coming through in 2018, when I was decided, okay, I'm going to run for office and I'm going to really look into things, one of the very first concerns I brought up is, hey, is anybody thinking about Medowcrest? Because when that parkway comes to 44 and it comes to 486, is anybody looking after that? Well, it's kind of hard because, we're the commission is limited on what can and cannot be done. This pains me because I know Medowcrest. I knew Mr. Olson quite well. He was my neighbor, Miss Betty, and I know what he was light years ahead of any of us as far as what he envisioned for Medowcrest and Black Diamond. Every time I drive through Black Diamond's gate to go home, I say, thank you, Mr. Olson. Thank you, Mrs. Olson. I can't say enough good. What is really hurting me, and more than you will know, is that this is a great project. And I have said over and over and over, we need young people, young professionals housing. We need this so desperately. When my twins left, they're 22, they were like, bye, not coming back. And if they didn't have us here, I don't know that if they got a job in Citrus County where they would live. What is hurting me is I can't support this project, and I can't tell you how much this hurts me. You know how much this hurts me. And I pray that you can find something and do bigger. But I just don't feel that this is compatible. I feel that what these people bought into by doing a change is unfair. The other part of that coin is you might be making a mistake. This might be better the devil you know than the devil you don't know. And I do think a box store would be more disruptive than this project here. But I'm telling you, Commissioner Kitchen has said it, and I always kind of laughed at him about it, but he said he'd have to hold his nose to make this vote. I have to hold my nose to make this vote because I don't think I can live with the incompatibility and the amount of traffic that will be coming onto the roads even more so. And so I hate myself for it, but I'm sorry. I can't support this.
It's a very tough job, isn't it? Okay, Commissioner Carr.
Yep. Well, I'm just going to hit on the points that I think are pertinent to the discussion. And while I certainly feel for everybody who's contacted me about this and got up here and spoke today, multifamily has been planned for Medowcrest for many years. The infrastructure has been funded in part by the owners of this piece of property for years to support multifamily. It was brought up a couple times, the removal of the trees, I get it, but the majority of those are planted pines. Yeah. It's a crop grown to be removed. Smart growth is infill. This is infill. This is smart growth. We're not getting, what we heard was you're not going to get commercial development there. Commercial development is not coming there as evidenced by the struggles of the local commercial units available because there's not enough people there. There's not enough people in that area to support it. The doctor's offices are going out to the central part of the county. The big commercial development is going out to the center part of the county. We need infill, and that's what this project would bring. Last but not least, this company has a track record, not just elsewhere, but a track record in our county for doing quality projects. We've had workshops about attainable housing, workforce housing. We've had lengthy discussions about it. We've talked about the need for it. I would support it.
Okay, Commissioner Carnahan.
Well, thank you. Commissioner Carr made a lot of great points right there, and workforce affordable housing is extremely tough. My son makes very, very good money, but unfortunately the housing market's tough. There's not enough housing out there. And again, this board has set up, I've discussed it for 8 years, workforce housing. This is infill. I do believe that this company has been a great neighbor to our county. Every project they have done, they've done a tremendous job. I reached out to the city of Inverness because they did that one there, and they could do nothing but talk great about it, so I will support it.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not finished. No vote has been taken. And I tell you what, yeah, I was just going to compliment you all on the fact that what made this such a tough decision for, I think, all of us was the fact that you got up here, you were very civil, and you gave excellent points. You just didn't get up and say we're against it. You got up and said, this is why, these are what our concerns were. So again, I just want you to know this is what we do. Sometimes it goes the way folks want it to go, sometimes it doesn't. But until the actual vote has been called, it's not official. So you've been here all day, you might as well stick around and see how it goes. So I just want to say this also too. Just to bring us back to reality here, whoever the 99-year-old person that was here, if they've left, please invite them back when they turn 100 because we give out proclamations to people when they turn 100. So we'd like to have her come back and recognize her for that. Okay, board, so I need a motion.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Based on competent and substantial evidence and finding of fact, I move that we adopt and authorize the chairman to execute the ordinance for PUD-22-03 Green Mills LLC for Gulf to Lakes Associates LLLP and direct the clerk to execute the ordinance. This needs to include the 3 conditions recommended by the PDC.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, so Commissioner Davis makes the motion, second by Commissioner Kennard. Board, we discussed it to death. Any other comments?
I did want to come
Yes.
back to 2 things. Number 1, I did skip over my note. You brought up a very good point that we need to listen to our advisory boards. The difference between the Library Advisory Board and the PDC is that the staff recommended, the professional staff recommended this as being good with the comprehensive plan, consistent with the comprehensive plan. So that's why, and I thank you for pointing that out. And secondly, to Commissioner Schlebach's point, if this was not the original intent of Stan Olson, and it was not always planned for the overall community, it was in a different spot, but overall community, then I would have a hard time being in favor of this. But he did, and so I am.
Yeah, but it's okay. Okay, so we've had all of our final discussion, no further board discussion. Madam Clerk, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Kennard,
Aye.
and Commissioner Slabaugh,
Nay.
and Commissioner Carnahan,
Aye.
and Chairman
N-
Kitchen.
Nay. So I read that as it passes 3-2, is that correct?